Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers of love out there. Thank you for joining me and Lubby tonight. If you want to get all our show notes and find our previous shows, you can go to, oh wait, there it is, latenightLove.us. As always, you can find us on your podcasts and various social media outlets, even though, quite frankly, I haven't been very good at keeping those updated these last couple of weeks. I've been busy, and Lubby has taken over producer duties, so that's been good. At least the show's been getting tightly produced. We're going to have to start shoving you some extra duties. I have to teach you how to do things.
Why?
Well, it'll be easy stuff. It'll be copy, paste, and post. So I'm not talking about complicated things.
All right.
Come on now. We'll give you a checklist, and you can just do the checklist.
I like lists.
Yes, we know you like lists. Trust me, everybody who listens and watches us knows you like lists, because every week there's lists. If you haven't noticed that, every time Lubby does the producing, there's always lists, 15 things, 10 things, which is probably good for YouTube searches. I should probably start putting those in the titles on YouTube. 10 tips for raising teenagers.
We have 15.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we should cultivate those and create our own 10. We should use those as kind of a thing and create our own 10.
Oh, that's a good one.
So anyway, but we've been so busy recently. You learning your new tasks as producer, me learning my new job and trying to do my old ones at the same time. Anyway, it's been a fun couple of weeks, and we are talking about some fun couple years, or a few years, I guess more technically, is raising teenagers tonight.
Yes.
And we have experience raising teenagers, that's for sure. But, my only caveat at the beginning of any discussion about raising kids, teenagers, or whatnot, is that they're all unique. All families are unique, and everybody's history is unique. And so tips and tricks that work for one family or one teenager will not necessarily work the same way or have the same impacts or the same results. You're putting an input into something that's different. You're changing the equation, essentially. So just because something works, generically speaking, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work the same way on your child and your family, because all circumstances are different.
Yes.
That's really the only thing I want to put out there. So these are, observations and tips that other people have used and other people have found, but you have to use your own parental instincts and your own parental philosophy to guide you. These are just information for you to take in and consider and apply it or not to your individual situations. Okay, so what do we have to start with, my love?
We have 15 parenting tips for teenagers, for parenting teenagers.
Uh-huh.
Okay, number 1 is set rules and boundaries together with your teen. Let them feel they have some sort of control over this as you discuss it. You don't let them dictate, but you get their input.
Well, yeah, everybody wants to feel heard. And remember, you're teaching your children how to be adults. But remember, they're still kids. And so you have to show them, you have to literally teach them how to interact with other people and how to negotiate with people and how to express themselves, in a way that's productive. And these are teenagers with emotions flying through. And so, you have to be the adult in the room. You're the one going to have to be the one to accept that they're going to overreact to things. And it's not going to make any sense. But you have to help them through and understand that, that emotional overreaction is an emotional overreaction, and work them through it. But you have to do that while keeping your own emotions in check. And that's one of the hardest things for parents to do. is they feel disrespected when they're really not. The child is just overly emotional because they're teenagers. You don't understand the world yet, and it's your job to help them navigate those emotions, help them understand how to turn those emotions, not to live by and through their emotions, but how to apply them to, logic and understanding. It's a difficult process. I mean, it takes years. It's why we raise our children for so long, because it takes a long time to teach them how to operate like an adult in society. It's very complicated. It's very, managing your emotions. And remember, that's what teenagers are. They're emotional creatures, right? They live and breathe through their emotions.
Yes, they do.
And so we have to, as parents, understand that. Okay, what's next?
Okay, communicate like a parent and a friend. So what they go on to use as examples, if your friend comes to you with a problem, do you interrupt and lecture them? Well, you wouldn't. So don't do that to your teenager.
Depends on the friend and the situation. There are times when you may want, actually that's what your friend comes to you for. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt. So generically speaking, I agree with it. But, there are times, right, as anything else. There are times when they need a good kick in the butt. And, sometimes that's what you use friends for. I use my mother, frankly. But, we all have those people in our lives who
My sister.
Who you have the permission, who has the permission to give you the good swift kick in the proverbial butt every now and again, right? They've earned it. And actually, that's what you use them for. You need them for that. It's kind of like a guidepost. Oh, wait, I've gotten off the rails. They kicked me in the butt. So, they gave me a verbal butt kicking. So maybe I'm doing something. Maybe I should consider what my perspective is. Yeah. So there are times for that, but you want to be very, very careful, especially with teenagers, because circle back to the emotion thing. Their emotions, so they're going to take it very emotionally. So but there are times. Okay.
All right, spit.
But generically speaking, that's good. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, as everything comes with a caveat, and I have a suspicion I'm going to be doing this a lot tonight. So.
Yes, you will.
All right.
Okay. Well, number 3 is obvious. Spend quality time together.
And quality means theoretically things that you both might enjoy. Now, teenagers sometimes don't know that they're going to enjoy something. But don't deliberately drag them to something they're going to hate. Don't drag them to the opera if they can't. Come on. Community theater, maybe. Especially if they have a friend who is doing community theater. Or the sister of a friend or somebody where they have an actual investment in it. Even if it's a couple degrees of separation investment. But don't take them to something that they're going to hate. If you want to go to a museum, take them to a car museum if they're a boy, or take them to
Take them to an art museum.
Yeah, well, depending upon their interests. If they're not interested in art, don't take them to an art museum. Right? You're not going to get them to be interested in art by dragging them to an art museum. It's not how it's going to happen.
You can always ask if they'd like to try.
Well, yeah, but they would have already expressed that interest. So find
Maybe
something.
not.
So you may want to find something that expands their interest, but don't drag them to something they're going to be bored at, because then they're going to reject it.
Yeah.
So there are things. There's lots of cultural things, but most importantly, it's time together. Do a mud run or something if you're kind of athletic, right? Have some fun, get dirty together. If that, find something interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, avoid talking down to your teen. It's frustrating when teenagers are disrespectful, but responding with disrespect will harm the relationship.
Oh, and I want to back up to that previous one we just did for a second. One of the ways, if you need to develop that habit with your child, spending quality time together, invite one of their friends to go do some of those activities. Start with their friends. That way they're not feeling they have someone else to communicate. And after a few times, then you can start going by yourself, because they'll be more open to it. They'll know you're not just some stuck in mud fuddy-duddy that you don't want to spend time with. But in order to get those first few times, to get them to agree with it, to get them to want to go, especially if you're trying to rebuild a relationship. We all have to sometimes as teenagers. You spend too much time working or something, and you go, I need to reconnect with my kid. Sometimes it's easier if you bring one of their best friends along, especially if it's someone you like, right? Makes it easier for them too.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so that would
Makes it
be
more fun.
especially
That's
those
a good idea.
especially those first few times to break the ice, right? Sometimes you got to break the ice. Well, use a tool. It's called their best friend. So that's my point. Okay, what's that?
Avoid talking down.
Yeah, well, that's just good human communications, and especially when someone's an emotional creature, right? They're going to respond poorly to that. So don't give them stuff, don't give them legitimate stuff to rebel against.
Well, simple things are how you phrase stuff. You're always so lazy. Instead, you say, I feel disrespected when you don't do your chores as we agreed.
Yeah.
So be kind.
Yeah, well, don't give them they're teenagers, they're going to rebel. Don't give them legitimate things to rebel against, right? So, okay.
Let your teen experience the consequence of his or her actions.
The world will teach them lessons. That's one of those hard things. That's one of those things that's easier for men to do than for mothers. Fathers are easier to do that. He's going to learn, because it's going to hurt. That's why. He won't do it again. It happens. But it's a boys thing. And mothers have a much harder time with that. It's just the way it is. Not all mothers and not all fathers, but I'm just saying.
Well, the world will be cruel enough.
Nature is a cruel place. Yes, Mother Nature is a cruel place. This is true. Which is why you have to learn to not be stupid. And the best way to learn to not be stupid is to, be stupid a few times in a relatively
safe environment.
Safe environment. Yeah. And mothers have a hard time letting their children be stupid. They intervene, and fathers will sit back and watch. It's not going to go well. Just going to say it at the end of this when I told you. It worked once. Yeah, it'll work a couple times. This is true. We'll sit back and watch. And eventually they'll jump off the roof and knee themselves in the face and they'll stop doing it. That's what's going to happen. That's what Michael did.
Is that why he won't jump off the roof anymore?
Yeah, that's why all of them stopped jumping off the roof. See, the other ones learned from him. See, oh yeah, let's not do that. They learned that. Sure, 9 times out of 10, it's perfectly fine. It's the 10th time. Do you want to risk it? Do you want to risk landing wrong and kneeing yourself in the face? Which you're lucky you didn't knee yourself in the nose. So, take the fat lip and what it is or whatever it was. Take the bruise instead of the busted nose. So, you got lucky. Quit while you're ahead. That's the kind of thing they learn by doing things like that. So, and you just kind of close your eyes and allow it. Nature teaches. Nature's a great teacher. It really is. And it's not like I never told them to not climb on the roof and jump off the roof. It's not like I never said anything. I told them not to do it. I told them it wasn't a good idea. But, they think they've got this big grass landing spot, so they'll be fine. Yeah, until you land wrong.
All right.
All right, we'll move on.
Number 6.
See, mothers don't understand it. They just don't.
I don't.
See, I told you. Fathers are going, yeah, this is true. And mothers are out there going, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? So it's the nature of thing. And if you want to send me tweets, you can do it at JazzRack, and you can complain to me there. Okay. Or you can send the Dear Lubby letter. Wait, let's put that up on the screen. You can send all complaints to, or agreements, or whatever it is, to love letters to love@latenightLove.us, so you can just or use the contact form at the website. Or go to anchor.fm and you can send us a voice message and we'll play it. All right. as we got taken care of all that.
Okay, number 6, focus on things that matter. Does your teenager have a hairstyle you don't like? Does she gravitate towards fashion choices that make your head spin? Mine did.
Yeah.
Purple hair,
Yeah, you just, but it's,
green shorts, and purple tights.
yeah, but they're just,
All kinds of shoes. They're just expressing themselves.
yeah, it's not a thing.
Not really. It's not a big deal.
No, you let them express themselves, and they're trying to rebel. And so if that's the worst they're going to rebel with, consider yourself lucky. Right? You've figured out how to let them rebel in a way that is not harmful long term. No one cares. No one cares how you dressed when you were 14. No one cares. We might look at a picture and laugh at you when you're 30, but 40 or whatever it is, but no one really cares. It's like a war story thing. It doesn't matter. No one judges you because you dressed weird when you were a teenager, right? I dressed weird when I was a teenager. Everybody dresses weird.
Everybody dresses weird.
So it's fine. Let them do it. Hell, if that's where they're going to rebel, please do. Keep it in that box.
I read a paragraph once from a parent complaining about their son spending half an hour on his hair before he went out. This was written in Roman times.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what do I do? What is it in the ancient Egypt clips, tablet things? They were talking about how do I make my son useful? How do I make my kids useful? What have I done? So this is
Universal
from the beginning of time. It just is. All right. So what else we got?
Okay, number 7. Don't have difficult conversations when you're angry. Well, that's natural.
Yeah, you should do that with human beings. So.
Support your teen's interests and passions.
Yep. Because that's where if how much education if someone is interested in baseball, how much math you can teach someone through baseball. If they're interested in statistics and baseballs or sports, and we get into all the statistics, push them to understand the statistics, push them to play things like fantasy sports, because they learn how to interpret statistics, how to calculate statistics. They learn how to think logically and kind of park some of their emotions. So it's actually a good learning experience. Let them do it. Give them structure. Don't let them go too deep. Okay, pay attention, but allow them to follow their passions, because we don't know the world that is going to exist when they're adults. We don't know.
It's not here yet.
In fact, they're part of the ones who are creating it, so we really don't know. But allow them to, because every generation has jobs that don't exist yet. My grandchildren will have opportunities, job opportunities, career opportunities that don't currently exist. And how do we prepare them for that? Right? You prepare them to follow their passions, to learn at every opportunity, from no matter what they're doing. Even if they're playing games, they're still learning. And so you just get them in the mindset of learning during these experiences. That's what's important. Okay, that's fine. I'd drag on for another 5 minutes and no one wants to do it. We don't have time. So.
All right, number 9, eat meals together regularly.
See, the thing about, make sure, I wouldn't say necessarily eat meals. If eating meals is how you accomplish the goals of eating meals regularly, then that's great. But we didn't eat meals regularly, but we regularly had discussions in the kitchen. We had all kinds of wide-ranging discussions in the kitchen as we pass each other. It was just kind of the way our house is set up. It's just, it's kind of the meeting point. Everybody crosses the kitchen at all times of the day and night, and we'd sit there and have long conversations with their friends at random opportunities. It was very organic. And the organic nature is, for us, is what helped. us forcing my kids to sit down and have four regular dinners and have there were no discussions.
Louis tried that once.
There was it's not what.
It didn't go well.
It's not for our family, and so, but it's not like we didn't accomplish the goals. We still had the wide-ranging open discussions, and
yes,
we just accomplished it differently. And so it's fine if I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying make sure whatever you do, it's the goals you want to accomplish, not the thing itself. And if dinners or breakfasts or whatever it is how you accomplish it, then that's great. But if you accomplish those same goals somewhere else, in other ways, that's fine too. It's the goals of staying connected and having those, keeping the lines of communication open and the ability to really feel safe to talk to you about, issues and troubles they're having, even if they use, friends as an example. You're telling them how they're going to respond to you in those same situations. So, how they're going to respond to you and you're going to respond to them in those same situations. Sorry, only half a thought came out.
Oh.
Sorry about that one. All right, what do you got next?
10. Recognize your teen's good behavior and habits. It's easy to criticize.
Yeah, but then sometimes they're going to give you what are you talking about? And so, be careful. Know your kid. Because sometimes it seems condescending. So, to remember, it's as a teenager, they're going to overanalyze it. So, be careful. I'm not saying don't, I'm just saying be careful.
Number 11, set a positive example for your teen. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion for life. Okay.
Don't compare your teen with others.
They're unique individuals. You should never compare them to others.
Stay involved in your teen's life, but respect his or her privacy.
Yes, that's a hard one for a lot of them because they're no longer kids. They're becoming adults, and they need to have an expectation of privacy by adults. It's not like it's going to come like that. So you have to teach them what to expect as adults. Okay?
Encourage self-care.
Yes, completely agree.
And number 15, the last one, don't be afraid to be vulnerable with your teen.
Well, again, you're teaching them how to be an adult. And so if you want to raise adults that can express themselves in a adult manner, you have to show them how. It's actually fairly simple. In concept. Difficult in execution.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got?
Okay, how to talk to your teens about sex.
Oh, we're going to do that one? Okay, we got 7 minutes before we don't do, because we're going to go all night if we just go with these raising teens. Or do we want to do that? Do we want to go all night with the raising teens, or do we want to have questions?
No.
Okay, so we're going to go with the next ones? Or do you want to go
how to talk, or do you want to go with activities to do with your teen, or teens and drugs?
Let's go with activities. If you want information about talking to your teens about sex, we have it on the website. You can go to latenightLove.us and you can click on a couple links about sex and drugs. There's some tips in there. But we're going to hop to some activities to do with your kids. I'm going to run through these real quick, just as ideas, because, again, the most important thing about raising teenagers is to stay connected. It's so easy to become disconnected with your teenagers. It's a time where they're trying to build themselves, trying to become their own human beings, but yet they don't quite know how to be adults. And so it's a dangerous time for them. And, you're building connections that will last the rest of your life. So staying connected with your teenagers is important, and spending time with them is one of the ways to do that. So, all right.
Okay, number 1, volunteer with animals together.
Especially if they're an animal lover. There you go.
That's a big one.
Yep.
And you can at animal shelters, a zoo volunteer, or even at a local farmer.
Zoo volunteer might be interesting. Okay.
You could learn a lot.
Yeah.
Let your teen drive a golf cart.
You have to take them golfing for that, but okay.
Go on a graffiti crawl.
What tells a graffiti crawl? Tell you how old I am.
Well, there's certain areas in cities where graffiti is usually allowed.
Oh, so you're not going out and making graffiti. You're going. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, never mind. You're going out looking.
You go look at graffiti. It's art.
All right, no, that's cool. I was just confused because, like, a pub crawl, you go out and drink, and so would you go out and paint graffiti? I suppose if it's allowed, that'd be nice. Go do some graffiti painting if you've got a place to do it. Okay.
Tour a college they're interested in.
Okay. Seems rather boring, but okay.
That they're interested in.
Well, if they're a nerdy type student, then okay, I'm just saying.
Play a fantasy stock market game with them.
Stonks, yeah. If they're interested in Bitcoin or something, invest $20. It doesn't hurt. Okay.
Hit up a used book sale.
Do you like
if
books?
they'd like to read.
Yep, if they're a book lover, go.
Okay, if they own their own car, treat them to a car detail.
That's not really an activity. Okay.
Do a bowl repair plunge together. I'm not doing that.
No. But, hey, if you have to live somewhere... We're in California. There's no bowler plunge here. All right.
Fun things to do with your teenage daughter. Host a photo shoot.
Okay.
I used to do that with my girls.
Well, especially now with Instagram and stuff.
Different outfits and different props, and you do photo shoots. Yeah.
Yes, but nowadays with the way they do Instagram or whatnot, it could be, you could like do a whole Instagram shoot or whatever.
Let them help you redo your wardrobe. Oh, they love to get into your wardrobe.
Okay.
Be prepared to lose a few things, though. Let your teenage daughter pick your nail colors. You can go do a pedicure together.
Purple nails? I'm pretty good at purple nails.
Drive into the city for a formal afternoon tea. My mother used to take us. We'd get dressed up once a month on payday. She got paid once a month. We'd get dressed up and we'd go to the Brown Derby and we'd have their salad bar and a dessert. And we'd have to use our good manners, and we just had a fine time. I still remember their blue cheese dressing.
You had to pretend to be civilized for an afternoon. Whew.
It was great.
All right. See, but the stuff you remember, right?
I remember it, yeah. Things to do with dad and a teenage daughter. Help them to drive your tractor.
Okay.
Grandpa taught me how to drive a tractor when I was 13.
I'm just saying that not many people actually own a tractor, so, But if you've got like a riding lawnmower or something, same thing. Let them have some fun. Yeah.
Okay, take them to a gun range.
Sure.
Teach them how to start a fire.
Okay.
Family activities.
Quite frankly, I don't even know. I start terrible fires, so I can't teach anybody how to start a fire. But that's the whole. I got some gasoline and a match. That's how That's how I start the fires. So.
Okay, so play things to do with teens as a family. Play a high stakes board game. That means the winner gets something that they really want.
Ooh, instead of making them play Monopoly, all right, if you want to go, if you want that new video game you've been itching for, all right, you're going to have to win it. Ooh, that's a good one. It's kind of like bribery, but, and I'm not for bribery, but I may have to give them the game even if they lose.
Host a make your own pizza night with their friends.
Okay. And that website's giving you problems, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I got.
Ah. Well, and hey, I managed to get away through the whole segment of talking about raising kids without saying that what you should do is put some blinders on, get some adult recreational material, and just sit down and close your eyes until it's all over.
It's like raising cats. It's like herding cats. Godspeed.
Okay, just ignore it, and it'll all work itself out, or won't, in the end, some way or another. Don't do that. I'm just saying, but it's funny.
It's funny.
How do you raise teenagers? You close your eyes and get drunk, and until it's over. But that's not a good idea. Just want to point that out. It's a very, very bad idea. There may be kids that it'll work with, but it's not a good idea as a general rule of thumb. You want to avoid that one. But it is funny. How do you raise teenagers? You close your eyes and get drunk. That's what you do. All right. What's next? We've got questions tonight. I didn't actually read any of these questions tonight, so this is going to be fun. I just copied and pasted them into the website.
Should we start with relationships?
Wasn't there family or something? I thought I saw a headline for family.
No, relationships.
I could have sworn there was a headline for family. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, go ahead. Parenting. See?
Parenting, yes. Okay, you want to go down to parenting?
We've been talking about parenting. Let's stick with parenting for him.
All right.
All right, I'll go.
If I can find it.
Maybe your mouse is starting to die. We need to get you new batteries.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
My son is turning 10 in a few weeks, and he wants to invite the entire class, with the exception of one kid who has bullied him, and a few others, for the last 2 years. Part of me feels bad that this kid will be the only one not invited, but their feelings aren't really my problem. My priority is my son, and this other child causes a lot of problems at school. I also don't want to deal with conflict. I don't deal well with conflict, and the last few times this child wasn't invited to other parties, the father confronts the parents and demands to know why. I know this all sounds a bit petty, but is it bad to exclude this other child?
No, it's your child's party. He gets to invite who he wants, and if the parent confronts you, your obligation to your child is to confront them back and say your child doesn't get invited because no one wants him around. He's a little bully, and now I can see why. And if you need to find somebody who in your family or your friend circle who is more assertive in these types of confrontations to deal with it, then deal with it that way. It's a skill like anything else. You can learn to do it. You can go to YouTube and watch YouTube videos on being more assertive and during these types of confrontations, but you have an obligation. Now you get to make choices what's worth it and what's not, but how far your confrontation goes. But why would you want to bully at your party? Why would you want to allow someone to bully their way in? See, he's learning this bully behavior from somewhere, and they probably don't even know. Probably don't even realize. It's probably so generational at this point, they don't realize. But it doesn't have to impact your life. So that's where you draw the line. I think you have no choice. Sometimes you don't get to choose.
I agree. It's her son's party.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get to choose which battles you fight, but you do get to choose how you fight them. So, choose wisely. If you need support, get support. There are other parents. You guys can do this. If you're really afraid of it, pay a lawyer to send a letter. A cease and desist letter explaining why. You don't have to bring you up specifically. But anyway, if you really want to deal with it without, if you want to personally avoid confrontation, that's what lawyers are for. If you're really that desperate to avoid confrontation, you pay a lawyer to do it. That's what they're paid for. It's literally their job. So if that's really where you have to go, then it's an option. So just laying it out there. There's more options than...
Right.
Okay. All right, what's next?
Okay. My toddler has been going to a babysitter once a week for the past 4 months. We had a terrible experience trying to put her in 2 different daycares, but I absolutely love her babysitter. The babysitter has 2 young children of her own and also watches 2 other children. Recently, my babysitter has made several comments about how poor she is. She moved to a beautiful large house on plenty of land. She has 2 cars, gorgeous furnishings in her home, and certainly does not look poor upon first impression. She tried taking on even more children, so that at a certain point there were 8 kids, 1 adult, but that didn't work out and she ended up firing a few of their kids. They started to bully her son. She's also been trying to frantically sell all her old clothing online. My husband went to pick up the toddler a couple weeks ago, and she said he saw the babysitter sitting on the couch with bloodshot, teary eyes. She recently sent me a message and told me she's trying to get a weekend evening job at a fast food joint, so we might have to start picking up the kiddo up earlier in the day. Last week, I texted her multiple times while kiddo was in her care, and she never answered me. I asked her at pickup if she got my text, and she said she hadn't paid her phone bill this month. Should I be concerned?
Well, it doesn't seem you should be concerned about your child, but you should be concerned about your babysitter. Your babysitter clearly has more expenses than she has income. Just because you have a nice house with lots of land doesn't mean you can afford it. Maybe she's gone through a divorce, or her husband passed away, or how'd she get into this big house with 2 cars and lots of land on a babysitter's income? Maybe her husband lost his job. They didn't say anything else about if she's living with a husband or whatever. It's a parent's house. Maybe taxes came due. There's clearly something in her life that's a problem. She's looking at it for a fast food job. She's clearly not doing well financially. So, the question is, you're trying to put him in daycare. I don't know what it is you can do. Maybe there's nothing you can do. Maybe you're not financially able to do anymore. But what you shouldn't be doing right now is trying to nickel and dime her. And you should be, if you can, find some way to help as a human being, not because it's good for your daughter, just because it's good for you to do for your community. This person has been a good babysitter for you. She's clearly struggling. That's what you should be focusing on. You're not concerned about your daughter, right? There was nothing in that letter that actually said you were concerned about the health and safety of your child at that babysitter. But there was lots of things in that letter that showed there was concerns for your babysitter, and maybe that's what you should be focusing on. And in the long run, it'll take care of. You may need to consider other options, because she may not be able to be your babysitter for very much longer. Right? She may have to get a job that doesn't allow her to be a babysitter anymore. So you maybe want to start thinking about, another option.
That would be my suggestion, yeah.
But if you actually want to help something, see if you can actually help that woman. She's clearly having a difficult time. And so, you may want to tackle two fronts, start looking for other potential options. But if there's something you can do to help her, maybe you should be looking for that as well. She's looking for a job. Maybe you know somebody who has one. You know?
I, 30-year-old male, have taken in two teen siblings, a 15-year-old female and a 17-year-old male. My brother is pretty tilled, just games and does his own thing. My sister, though, created a whole social media persona about how shitty her life is. I get people cope with stuff in different ways, but she goes on TikTok and basically pretends she is homeless, a self-harmer, an addict, etc. Basically all very negative things. The reality is she has her own room, an iPhone 13, an electric scooter. We live in a good neighborhood and all her needs are met. I was angsty when I was a kid too, I guess, but I can't help feel some type of way, like I'm not expecting gratitude from the kid, but pretending she has some dark, deep past for likes on social media is really hurting me. This hasn't been easy, so I'm just trying to do the best I can. Oh, and therapy, yeah, tried that. She won't go. How do I address this?
You don't. It's not about you. I mean, look, until you can get her into counseling or therapy or something, there's the best way to fight this is understand it's not about you. You had to take in your siblings because assuming your parents, for some reason or other, can't or won't. That's a traumatic experience, and she'd rather put out this persona that she's essentially homeless and destitute than admit that her life and family have fallen apart, and yet she's still taken care of. It's a strange consequence of our culture where you get points for being victims. It's not her fault. She didn't create this world she lives in. Now, you have taken this responsibility to raise a teenager and your siblings through what is an insanely difficult time, and I applaud you. But don't take it personal, because it's not about you. This is a teenager. This is all about them. It's all internal. In a strange way, she's crying out for help, and and instead of saying, what do you do, your question should be, how do I help her? And so the question is, how do you get her to accept therapy? How do you get her to understand that what she is doing is long-term harming? It's not just harming herself. She's too young for it to have any long-term harm. But that if she lives this persona for too long, she could actually start to believe it. And she can actually internalize this victim persona she's taken on. But in a sense, she's clearly has had something that makes her feel like a victim. And she just doesn't want to express it, so she's expressing it in a different way. And rather than dealing with her real issue, she's dealing with this other thing because she can. And maybe you have to be her counselor for a little while. You have to be the one to talk to her, and you can't do it if you're angry. You're going to have to understand that it's not about you. That she's lashing out at the world, and because you love her, you're going to take it. You're going to be the one to get it. Oddly enough, because you're safe. And she may be testing you. Her parents were her parents. And so now you've taken her in, and you're giving her all the superficial things she needs. But, have you given her what she really needs? It's not that you haven't tried, don't get me wrong. It's a difficult thing. And she may be rejecting it, but for now, there's no easy way. You're just going to have to go through it. You allow her to express herself, and she'll eventually become open to really expressing herself. And you maybe and maybe the way is explain to her, I overreacted to this thing. I took it personally, and I'm sorry. It'll surprise the hell out of her. She won't know what to do with it. So, and don't say you know what it is. Just say I took it personal. It's just you expressing your pain right now, and I understand that. Just leave it at that. Let the reaction be what it'll be. It'll be okay in the long run. You love her, and as long as you manage your own emotions, you'll help her through it. Just keep trying to get her into counseling. Don't give up on that.
No.
Just try softer.
Yeah. Okay. My baby boy seems to cry any time I have him. I miss Mom, but perks up with everyone else. Husband, mother-in-law, etc. I have postpartum depression, so he may be picking up on that. But really wanting encouragement because my baby does not want me most of the time. How do I make him like me?
Well, you can't make him like you. And just because he's crying doesn't mean he doesn't like you. And this is one of those self-fulfilling things. There's techniques. Certain babies like to be held certain ways, and so if you just off a little bit, they can be expressing themselves. And just because he's crying doesn't mean he's expressing displeasure. That's all babies know how to do, deliberately, is cry. They can cry because they're happy. He may be too happy to understand, so he's crying, and you're interpreting it as him being unhappy, but he actually might be too happy to understand. And so it comes out as crying. It's hard, and with the postpartum depression doesn't help, because then you probably give up a little sooner than you probably should.
Hang in there. Spend the time.
Yeah. And it's okay. And maybe you do need to change your technique a little bit. Maybe you're a little brisk, Maybe you're a little rougher than other people. Maybe you're a little too soft. Whatever it is. You may have to adjust your technique a little bit. And it's hard to do when you're suffering from postpartum depression. But, it's all what parents do with their babies. Especially, this is something that men actually go through with a long time. It takes men a long time to understand what their babies need. So, hang in there. It'll be okay. Just try to manage your emotions as best you can, because if they are feeding off of your emotions, and babies do feed off your emotions, you can create this goofy spiral thing that, and no one wants that. So it's okay. You'll be all right. Just try to manage those emotions and get help with your postpartum depression. You're able to talk about it, so that's good. But make sure you get enough help for them.
Yes.
Okay,
we have some relationship questions.
Alrighty.
I was offered a baseball scholarship in high school. My girlfriend got pregnant and I turned it down so I could stay with her. She had no one and I couldn't take care of her and the baby while in school. She passed away while she was in the first trimester. After that, I stayed in town and got a job selling motorcycles. I accepted that life could have been a lot different, but I made the right decision at the time. I now live with my current girlfriend and our daughter. I met her when she was 3 months pregnant, and I've raised and cared for her alongside her mother. She may not be biologically mine, but she's my baby. My girlfriend stays home with her while I work. I met my parents for lunch yesterday. We were chatting and I said something about my dad. My dad got a little frustrated and said I wouldn't have to deal with it if I had gone to college on my scholarship. I told him no. I needed to stay here for what I thought was going to be my new family. My dad has always been furious that I turned the scholarship down to stay here. He said, "You turned down the perfect life just to end up with a shit job and take care of another man's child." How do I get my father to accept I'm happy with my life as it is?
Well, he's not, because he's not. You can't. You can just live your life and let him be upset. There's nothing you can do. There's just not. He's living in a life that theoretically could have existed, but probably wouldn't have anyway. The path not taken is very easy to paint with roses and. But remember, roses have thorns. Just because you had a scholarship to college doesn't mean you were going to have a better life than you have now. You could have blown your knee out in the first practice, never played a game. You could have not handled the transition well and dropped out. Academically, not been able to handle the transition. There's all kinds of things there's more to go wrong than to go right on that other path as well. So the fact is that you're happy with the path you're on in life, and that's important. But that other path is not necessarily closed. There's you can go play baseball at community college while you're still doing those things. Or not. If you don't have any interest, you don't have to. But, those things don't necessarily close. You can now have the opportunity to play just for the love of playing. You don't have to worry about that being your career. You can work on your education for your career while having a learning experience, a team building experience, and all those various things that relationship building, network building, that sports can bring. But the chances of you having a career in sports was actually very slim, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
I mean, it's not impossible. It's not saying you wouldn't have been able to do it. It's just the chances. Just because you had a scholarship to college doesn't mean that was going to turn into a career. It means it was a potential. So the fact that your father is thinking you had some perfect life lined up, well, it's just not true. It was a potential for a good life, but there's still potential for a good life. It's not over. You're young. You're in your 20s. You've got the rest of your life ahead of you. Don't worry about it. Just be you. You love him because he's your dad. And he'll either change or he won't, depending upon what you make of your life from this point forward. So just make your life of it what you will. You be happy. He'll end up being happy in the long run. Okay, what you got?
My girlfriend and I were having a conversation about work crushes. She mentioned that there's a handsome guy at work and that he looks Middle Eastern. Me. Jokingly, I say to her that maybe she has a thing for Middle Eastern guys. She said that she had briefly dated 2 guys like that, and that she found them to be very attractive, etc. Then she almost subconsciously blurted out in passing that it's her preferred type. I explained to her that it makes me feel like I'm her second choice. I am white, by the way. She goes on to say that she finds me attractive, and I have other characteristics that she also loves about me, etc. What do I do now?
Nothing. There's nothing to do. There's a visual, automatic kind of attraction that we can't have anything that we just, as human beings, we have, right?
Yes.
Nature, nurture, whatever, combination thereof. It is. We all have kind of the theoretical preferred type. The skin tone. Some people like the white skin tone. Some people like darker skin tones. But that initial reaction is not what drives our long-term love. long-term relationships, that's just kind of initial reaction. It's superficial, quite literally. It's superficial. What people love about you isn't the way you look. They might like the way you look, but that's not what they love about you. It's not. No one loves you because of the color of your skin. Now, if they're shallow people, they may not ever look past that with some people, but that's their problem, not yours. She clearly has gotten past that, past her superficial preferences. That's what that is. It's a superficial preferences. She has a superficial preference for that olive tone of skin, right? That's what it is.
Darker features, yeah.
Yeah, slightly darker features, the olive tones. She likes that color palette. It's attractive to her eyes. But it doesn't mean it's attractive. That person is attractive to her heart. You're attractive to her heart. It's much better.
She left them. She's with you.
Yeah. Stop worrying about it. Now, do I understand the initial reaction? Sure. Sure I do. It's completely understandable. But, let's face it. Most men are not attractive people.
What?
Look at us. We're all talking. It's fine with it. We're all good. We have other features that make you love us. It's fine. People don't love you because you look good. They like you because you look good. They may give you an opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise had because you look good. But if they don't like you as a human being, they're not going to like you as a human being. She likes you as a human being, and don't worry about the rest.
Okay.
What are you going to do? Go paint yourself? Don't be silly. All right, one more.
One more. Okay, it's a very complicated story how me and my husband got married. But to make a long story short, it's a lot of family issues, debts, and cultural things involved. So it's like I was forced to marry him. I got married at 23 years old, and my husband was 28 years old. It's been 3 years since our marriage, and what I respect about him is he never touched me or even tried to make me do things I don't want. And this is including getting intimate. We never got intimate because I told him I'm not ready for it, and he respected it. That respect's slowly growing into me actually liking him. I just don't know how to tell him I'm finally ready to be the wife that he wants. Not gonna lie, I feel very ashamed of myself for basically ignoring him all these years. Any advice on how I should approach this situation without embarrassing myself?
Well, one, however you approach the situation, you're not embarrassing yourself. Because you did what you felt you needed to do to get you would not have gotten to this point had you not taken this path.
Yes.
And so the fact that he respected you as a human being and allowed you to take this path is the reason he's more attractive to your eyes is because he's the type of person you actually want. He works hard. He takes care of you. He doesn't ask you to do things you don't want to. He respects you as the human being you are. And you grew to love that. Now, we can talk about your, cultural issues that put you in this position, but we're not going to do that because those are decisions that, people make. But the fact is you got lucky. You've grown to not just like this person, you've actually started to grow to respect them. And you may even find that you've grown to love them. And you think it's going to be an embarrassment for you to go and tell him that? Now, it's going to be a hard transition. You guys have built habits. You're actually going to have to go through courting and dateship, which is kind of weird being already married, but so what? You've actually probably got half of it done already, so it'll be a short, the process will be shorter, but it'll still be weird. It's going to be very awkward, but you'll get past it.
Dating is awkward. No one does it well.
Yeah, and I know, and you guys have already built relationship habits, so you're going to have to unlearn some relationship habits, and so it's just going to be weird. But you know what? He respects you. You know already that he respects you enough to allow it to happen that way, the way it needs to happen. You already know that. He's shown it for 3 years. If some different aspect of his nature was going to show up, it would have shown up by now. So you're safe to explore that. So you know what you do? You sit down and you just tell him. Next time you guys have a quiet moment together, my suggestion is not to make it a big thing, even though it is, but you don't make it a big thing so it doesn't become bigger than it is. You know?
Yes.
And you just, what you just said to us, you say to him. You just tell him. The truth is a beautiful thing.
He'll be just elated. Won't he be so happy?
You know, so...
I'd love it when good guys finish first.
Yeah, well, obviously allowed you to become, you know, he did, obviously respected you as the human being you are.
That's a very patient man.
And so understanding, you know, with debts and family issues and cultural issues, he was forced into this as much as you were. And maybe, right? And so you know, you're going to have to find out where he is. You know, there is a danger that he doesn't feel the same way. That he's fulfilling his family obligations and his cultural obligations, and you know, he may have given up. And so, you know, maybe he started out wanting a wife and relationship, and he may have given up at this point. And so, you may have to be prepared for that. That this may be another 3 years before your marriage becomes the marriage you want it to be. But
you are on your journey, and it starts with that one conversation.
Yep, you want to start a journey where you are becoming more of a married couple you guys want to be. It starts with sharing these feelings.
Yes.
You know, intimacy isn't physical. We fool ourselves into thinking that it is. Partly because of chemicals, you know, in our bodies that fools us into wanting to. But real intimacy is to be able to have these kinds of conversations, feeling safe, to have these kinds of vulnerable conversations, to tell people how you really feel. That's real intimacy. To be able to drop your guards, drop all your curtains, say, here I am, the true me. That's intimacy. Love me for me. And with that, me and Lubby want to thank you for being with us tonight. We will be back with you. Oh, you know what? We may not be here next weekend. I may not be back in time.
Okay.
I'll try. It means I have to leave by 7. Yeah. Oh, I'll have to try. So we may have to record something earlier. We may be anyway, we may or may not be here next Saturday. Because I have to be out of town for a thing Saturday afternoon, and so getting back in time might be sketchy. So you may find us next Saturday, or we may record something during the week and throw it up on Saturday night. We will see. So for me and Lubby, we want to thank you for being with us. You can find everything else, anything you want at latenightLove.us, and you can find us on all your social media and podcasting platforms. From me and Lubby tonight, thank you for joining us, and please remember to love everybody.
Good night.